IP has been capturing a lot of headlines. Some would say for the wrong reasons, but I think it's important to discuss and understand what role IP plays in the mobile space. With us, we have two extraordinary practitioners of the trade in the IP space. Efrat Kasznik, president of Foresight Valuation Group. You first.
So my name is Efrat. I've been pretty much a consultant to the IP industry for about close to 20 years now. Working on IP valuation, IP strategy, litigation, all the aspects of IP consulting to the industry. I've worked with some of the largest IP holders in the telecom industry as well as other industries, along with the launch of kind of the intellectual asset management movement.
Starting with the Nortel patent auction and then the Google purchase of Motorola, the valuations are obviously much higher than people would have expected. So are we in a patent bubble? And
now with the new players coming in, with somebody like Google that had very few patents going into the cellular market, a litigation is an effective way of putting a company on notice, and as a result, they started buying a lot of patents. So a lot of that activity is fueling up some of the acquisitions that we're seeing. The Nortel acquisition, where 6,000 patents of the Nortel portfolio were auctioned for $4.5 billion. Part of the valuation is a result of the fact that Google really needed patents. So they came in with a stalking horse bid of $900 million to start off the bidding. Part of that was a result of the fact it was an auction, so there was a lot of dynamics going on. We ended up with a price of $4.5 billion. Now, is that a bubble? It's probably a higher than usual price. Given the fact that Nortel used to invest $2 billion a year in R&D, some people might say this is a fair return on investment for somebody, but this is definitely a high valuation. Motorola acquisition, same thing, $12.5 billion. Motorola is an operating company, so it's not only the patents, but the patents were definitely a main.
That we're seeing in the mobile space. So how does a startup or a little guy in the garage prepare?
This is really a wake-up call for all the startups and the VCs that invest in them that have, for a long period of time, ignored IP strategy, either for lack of resources or for lack of understanding, or just thinking this is something we can worry about later on. Well, I think the news here is that as a startup, you have the time to think about, and I have a lot of startup clients, and I always tell my clients the time to think about IP strategy is now.
Talking about reforms, the Congress tried its attempt at the patent reform. Could you maybe expand on what changed and how does it impact startups and entrepreneurs?
The big change is the first to file versus moving the U.S. into a first to file system. What the implication is for the startup is that before releasing any information into the public domain, you have to make sure that you have filed some sort of either provisional or patent application, especially if you want to retain your worldwide patent rights. So that I would say that's the main implication for the small inventor and the startup.